Comparative advantage. It's a concept that I've seen discussed multiple times, and if you're clicking on this video, you're probably also curious about what it is, or maybe you're not entirely sure what it is. Well, hey, that's great. And to be honest, it's totally understandable, because often I've seen comparative advantage being described and used incorrectly. So, let's solve that a bit. The way I've seen comparative advantage being used is to describe the idea that countries should just produce what they're best at producing. Now, that's part of the definition, but that's not really it. It's missing a big chunk of what comparative advantage actually means. To demonstrate this best, let's look at a little scenario that I've set up here. So let's say that Canada here and America are, both countries, and we're focusing on their production of fish and syrup. As you can see, Canada can produce fish and syrup at a higher rate than America, and both countries produce syrup better than they can fish during a unit of time. Canada's just better at producing than the US. So what does this mean? Well, Canada could just not trade with America. After all, they produce better than them. And if we use that previous definition of comparative advantage that you see often, and both countries just produce what they are best at producing, well, Canada produces syrup at a better rate than America, so America's kind of screwed. Well, that sucks. But America, they have an option, and that's to start producing fish. Solely fish. Focus all their production on that. And just stick with me here, because I know this sounds a little crazy, but they can start trading that excess fish to Canada. And what this allows Canada to do, since they don't have to focus on fish production, is they can focus solely on making maple syrup, which they're better at doing than making fish. And what's the point of this? Well, this actually leads to an interesting phenomenon where even though America isn't producing what they're best at producing, since Canada is the top tier of making maple syrup and they don't have to focus on their production, it actually leads to an increase of fish and syrup on the market. There's more units produced through this little example that I've set up. And, of course, the more there is on the market, the more it drives down costs, which helps consumers, and it's going to benefit both countries. So, if you extrapolate this out to countries across the entire globe, well, comparative advantage reveals how global trade works, and it explains how small and large countries can interact with each other and both benefit from the agreement. And why rich nations don't just completely prosper and why poor nations aren't screwed entirely. So that's comparative advantage. Hope you enjoyed.